So think about it. If the remaining seconds is not greater than or equal to seconds in a minute, if it's not 60 or more, then we don't have a minute. Then anything apart from that is seconds. Because if it's less than 60, 50, if the user enters 59 seconds, you don't have a minute, you don't have an hour, you don't have a day. All you have is 59 seconds. So even though the question didn't add seconds in the program, I'm going to add seconds to make the program look good and look complete. So if the remaining seconds is not 60 seconds or more, then we have seconds. All we have is seconds. Let's display 25 seconds. Let's display 0 days, 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 25 seconds. So in that case, I'm going to put an else, because there's not going to be any other condition unless we want to create our own condition. So I'm going to put another else here and say that, actually, before that, I'm sorry, before that, don't get confused here, please. Before that, we'll come to that. Let's assume that, let's assume that, the seconds in a minute over here is you're still running this program. We'll add the else part to these later on. So if remaining seconds is 60 or more, we have at least 1 minute. So we're going to calculate the minute here. And after calculating the minute, we need to find the remainder. So let's continue. Remaining seconds is going to be equal to remaining seconds modulo sign seconds in a minute. And what is going to be stored here is going to be less than 60, because now we found the minute. If the number of seconds over here was greater than or equal to seconds in a minute, for example, if we had 120 seconds, we would have 2 minutes. So if we come to find remaining seconds here, 120 modulus seconds in a minute, which is 60, is 0. So in that case, remaining seconds will be 0. So we need to calculate that so we can display it. If the person entered, let's say, if by this point we had 121 seconds, because it's greater than or equal to seconds in a minute, which is 60, minute is going to be remaining seconds divided by seconds in minutes. 121 divided by 60, that will give you 2 point something. So we'll get 2 point something here, but we'll display it right when we are displaying the final output by converting it to an integer. So we'll have 2. But the remainder, we don't want to display 2 point something minutes. We want to display exactly 2 minutes. So remaining seconds now is going to be the 121 seconds modulo 60. That will give you the remainder, not the 2, but the remainder. And the remainder is going to be less than seconds in a minute. And that we are going to store in a variable called seconds, which we haven't declared. I'm going to initialize it to 0, otherwise we'll get an error. So seconds now is going to be equal to remaining seconds. Minus seconds. Okay, so now we're not done, but we've made progress. So even though we don't have the whole thing, let's create an output to see where we are. Just test on only what we have. So this is the if statements. That's the closing brace. I can come down here and start an output and say system.out.println. This video is going to be a bit long, but I hope you bear with me. As long as we are following and it's helping you, it's helping people, I'm happy. I'm not too concerned about the video length unless it bothers any of you. I know that it affects bandwidth and all that, but if it bothers you, please let me know and I'll do everything to try to make it faster. At the same time, cover what we need to cover to solve the questions. Okay, so first I'm going to say day I'm going to concatenate it with days, and after that I'm going to say hours. I'm going to concatenate it with hours. Oops. And then next thing is minutes. I'll actually, if this is too long, I'll actually think of separating it or making it part 1 and part 2. If not, I'll upload the whole video. But I'll think about that and see what it's going to be helpful. Okay, so the next thing is going to be, the program didn't say we should add seconds, but I'm going to add seconds to make the program complete. So seconds here. Okay, so let's just test for only the things we have created code for. So if the user seconds is greater than or equal to seconds in a day, let me go ahead and compile this. Okay, we have an error. Let's see. Cannot find symbol seconds in an hour. Okay, seconds in an okay, we didn't name this well. We said seconds in an hour because we said in an hour here. Okay, so I'm going to compile it and it run. I'm going to run it, and I'm going to enter values based on this. If it's greater than or equal to seconds in a day, if it's greater than or equal to 86,400. So I'm going to first enter 86,400, and it should give us exactly 1 day. So it says 1 day, 0 hours, 0.0 hours, 0.0 minutes, 0.0 seconds. We don't want to display that because we don't want a remainder. The remainder is what we've carried on to check to see if we can get an hour from it, to check to see if we have minutes from it, and pass, and then keep on checking to see if we have seconds from it. So I'm going to display this by converting it to an integer. This is by using typecast. I'm going to use typecasting to display this as integers, basically. For the seconds, I wouldn't, because let me break this down here. Okay. For the seconds, I wouldn't do that because we can if the user enters 25.5 seconds, we would have 25.5 seconds. We don't want to say just 25 seconds, otherwise it wouldn't be accurate. Okay, but for these it's fine because we are carrying on the remainder all the way to seconds. So whatever is the remainder, we want to display it as seconds. Unless, for example, we added another variable, let's say milliseconds, and then we can end up converting this to an integer and leaving the milliseconds the same. I hope you understand me. Okay, so let me now run this and then see if it displays well. So I'm going to run this until exactly 86,400. And you see we have 1 day, 0 hours, 0 minutes, 0.0 seconds. Okay, that's fine. So far we are on track. All right. So for this if statement, we have if user seconds is greater than or equal to seconds in a day. But what if user seconds is not greater than or equal to seconds in a day? Then we need code for this. For example, if I enter 86,399, nothing would happen. Nothing would happen basically, because this is going to be 0, because up here we initialize it to 0, so it's still going to stay 0. Nothing will happen. But this is wrong. So we need an else part for this. But before that, let's finish the else part of these if statement. So if at this point it comes down here and the remaining seconds is not greater than or equal to seconds in an hour, then let's go ahead and check to see if the remaining seconds is greater than or equal to seconds in a minute. Because if we can't get an hour from it, let's check on the minutes. So it's going to fall. I'm going to add an else to this one. So let's add an else if, and I'm going to open another block and say that else if remaining seconds is greater than or equal to seconds in a minute, then we have a minute, you know, just like you know, over here, just like over here. Okay, so in that case, then minute is going to be equal to remaining seconds. Remaining seconds. Let me take this down. It's going to be equal to remaining seconds divided by seconds in a minute. And let's keep going. Let's keep going in this block. So if over here it's not greater than or equal to seconds in an hour, let's check for minutes. If we can get the minutes, then let's get the remainder and check in this block to see if we can get I'm sorry, if it's not greater than or equal to an hour, if we weren't able to get an hour, then let's check to see if we have a minute. So if we get a minute, let the remaining seconds, let's go ahead and get the remaining seconds, and then store that in the seconds variable so we can display it. Okay, so remaining seconds now is going to be the remaining seconds. Let me see. The remaining seconds modulos seconds in a minute, and that's going to give us a remainder. I know this can be confusing, but if you follow it, it'll make sense. I hope. It'll hopefully make sense. So remaining seconds is modulo seconds in a minute will give us a remainder. And think about it. If after we've gotten all the minutes, if you can't get any more minutes, then the remainder is going to be our seconds. So in that case, our seconds is going to be equal to remaining seconds. So think about it. If the remaining seconds is greater than or equal to a minute, then that means we can, when we divide, we will get all the minutes we can get, all the exact minutes we can get from it. Any remainder is not, we can't get a minute from that. So if we have 2 point something minutes, we know the exact is 2. The exact number of minutes is 2, but the remainder, it's not up to a minute yet. I mean, it's not up to a minute. So what we can do is, we know in this program, the next thing after minutes is seconds. So we just pass it on to seconds so we can display it. So now we are done with this else part, the else part of this if statement over here. So we are done with that. But we need to cover this one too. We need to cover some more. We need to cover some more before we come to this one too. So if remaining seconds is, remember we get the remaining seconds after we got in the day from here. So if the remaining seconds is not greater than or equal to an hour, else if the remaining seconds is not greater than or equal to a minute. I thought we were done. I thought we were done with this if, the else part of this if statement. But we have another else part to it. So if the remaining seconds is not greater than or equal to seconds in an hour, if you can get an hour from it, if we can get a minute from it, then whatever is left is seconds. So in that case, we're going to have a last else part to that. And we're going to store the remaining seconds in seconds. It can get confusing, but if we follow it, it will make sense. Okay. So yeah, so just like I explained, we've gotten the days, we've gotten the remaining seconds. If the remaining seconds is not greater than or equal to seconds in an hour, we don't have an hour. Let's check to see if we have minutes. If it's greater than or equal to a minute, let's get the minutes, get the remainder, get the seconds. But if it's not greater than or equal to seconds in a minute, then that means we don't have a minute. So let's check. We don't even have to check, because if we can't get a minute, then whatever we have is less than a minute, it's seconds. So go ahead and apply and store that remaining seconds in seconds so we can display it. So now we are done with all the else part of this. The else part of this if statement. Now let's come here. When a program manages to reach this section and it's greater than or equal to seconds in a minute, then it's going to do this. But if it's not greater, it's just like the same thing here. If it's not greater than or equal to seconds in a minute, if we can't get a minute from it, then the else part means that whatever we have is less than a minute. It's seconds. So let's go ahead and add an else statement and basically store the remaining seconds let's store the remaining seconds in seconds. Yeah, I hope it makes sense. So if the remaining seconds is not greater than or equal to seconds in a minute, then we don't have a minute. And if we don't have a minute, that means whatever remaining seconds we have is less than a minute. And if it's less than a minute, that's the seconds we have. So go ahead and store those remaining seconds in seconds here. Okay. So now we're done. We're done with the else part of this if statement. We're down all the way to seconds. Over here, we're down all the way to seconds. So we're done with this. With the block. If anything is greater than or equal to seconds in a day, we have everything covered. We've gotten everything covered over here. So let's compile this. We don't have any errors. Let's run it. Anything that is greater than or equal to 86,400 should give us right values based on this. So let's just enter 86,401. You see, it says 1 day, 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 1 second. Let's do, this is just for stuff or for numbers or seconds greater than 86,400. So let's say 86,402. So it says 1 day and 2 seconds. Let's say 100,000. 100,000 seconds. It says 1 day, 3 hours, 46 minutes, and 40 seconds. See, it's checking everything. It has so many if statements and conditions, checking everything to make sure that it's getting the right number of days, hours, and minutes, and seconds. And because we didn't typecast seconds, we are getting the exact double display. Okay, so you may think that you just say if this is just for this one, then this one is going to be a lot more code, or a lot more. No, it's not going to be a lot more code, because if the user seconds is greater than or equal to 3,600 but less than 86,400, and all we have to check is for hours, minutes, and seconds. We don't have to do for days. So it gets lesser and lesser, not too much. It's a bit more code, but it gets less. So now we are done with anything greater than or equal to seconds in a day. So let's go ahead and check for anything greater than or equal to seconds in an hour, which is 3,600. So this is the program we've created, right? If the user seconds is not, this is for user seconds. If the user seconds is not greater than or equal to seconds in a day, then it's not going to do any of these. So we need to check. Well, we need to check for the user's seconds to see if it to make sure we have everything covered, so that we can have code to cover every number the user enters. So if the user seconds is not greater than or equal to seconds in a day, then come here. If it's not greater than or equal to seconds in a day, come and check this. Else if, so this goes exactly under that. Exactly under that. So else if user seconds, not remaining seconds, but user seconds is greater than or equal to seconds in an hour. The code is going to look similar, but not exactly. It's going to look 90% similar, actually 95% similar. but it's just going to have a bit of difference in, just a few things, almost similar. Okay, so this is when the user types, the user starts the program. This is the seconds the user type in. If the seconds is not greater than or equal to seconds in a day, then we don't have a day. So just come here and check for hours. Let's see if we can get an hour from it. So it's the same idea over here. We're going to do the same idea. If user seconds is greater than or equal to seconds in an hour, then we have an hour. So in this case, hours is going to be equal to the user seconds divided by seconds in an hour. So let's go ahead and get the remaining seconds to see if we can get, after we've gotten all the hours, let's see if we can get minutes from it. Minute seconds is going to be user seconds modulo seconds in an hour. And after we've done that, we need to check on the remaining seconds to see if we can get a minute from it. So we've created an if for this. So it's going to have an else part, but we'll work on that later on. So if remaining seconds over here is greater than or equal to seconds in a minute. After we've gotten the hours, let's check to see if we have minutes. So if it's greater than or equal to seconds in a minute, then we have a minute, and we have at least 1 minute. So minutes, now it's going to be equal to remaining seconds divided by seconds in a minute. And then let's go ahead and keep on getting the remaining seconds, so we can apply that, or we can store that in seconds. So remaining seconds now is going to be equal to remaining seconds modulo seconds in a minute. So this is what I meant by the code was getting bulky. But you can combine some of these together, and then it's going to look shorter. Okay. So remaining seconds is going to be equal to remaining seconds. The reason why I did that was because I want it to be separate, and I want things to be step by step, so we follow it and make it make sense that way. Because if you do this and you have any complex idea, you can break it down this way, and you can write the program, and it's going to do exactly that. And then later on, you can optimize the code by combining things together, together and making it look a bit smaller and more compact. But both ways, both programs work the same. So if remaining seconds after this, after we've gotten the hours, we need to check if we have a minute. So after getting the minute, we need to get the remaining seconds, the remainder. So remaining seconds modulo seconds in a minute. After getting that, if the seconds is not greater than or equal to seconds in a minute, for example, if this is what I mean, if after getting the minute here, if we're getting the remaining seconds divided by seconds in a minute, after getting the minute here, let's say we get 2.1. After getting 2, then the 0.1, let's say 2 minutes and 1 second. Not 2.1, but 2 minutes and 1 second. After getting 2 minutes here, we need to get the remaining seconds. So we're going to have the 1 second store here, and anything less than seconds in a minute. After getting, if we've gotten all the number of minutes we can get from here, and we have seconds left, then let's go ahead and store it in seconds. That's all I'm trying to say. I think I talked too much, but I just want to try to explain it so that people get it. So seconds now is going to be equal to remaining seconds. Okay, so we have an if statement here. So let's go ahead and have it else. So if we, after getting the hours and after getting the minutes, if remaining seconds is greater than or equal to seconds in a minute, Now, if it's not greater than or equal to 7 seconds in a minute, if it's not 60 and above, then it's less than 60. It could be 59, it could be 58. And anything less than 60 seconds is seconds. We can't get a minute from it. If we can get a minute from it, we'll get it from here. We'll get the remaining seconds and put it in seconds. But if a program gets to this point and the remaining seconds from here is not greater than or equal to 60, then we don't have a minute. So come here and do the rest. So if we don't have a minute here and all we have is seconds, then come here and put the remaining seconds in seconds. Okay, I hope you get me. If at this point remaining seconds is not greater than or equal to seconds in a minute, and we don't have 60 seconds or above, then anything we have is less than a minute, which is seconds. So in this case, let's put an else here and store the remaining seconds in seconds. Okay, so now we're done. We're done with if for example the program starts and the user enters a number of seconds that's greater than or equal to seconds in an hour, then we are done with this part, the second part of the program. You see, the first part was what took more code. The second part took a bit, I think half of that. And the last part is going to take, I think, half of that too. It's not going to be a lot more code. So if the program starts and the number of seconds the user types is not greater than seconds in a day, which is 86,400, then it's going to come here. If the number that the seconds that the user type is not greater than or equal to seconds in an hour, which is 3,600, then we need to have another else if. To see if we can get a minute from the user seconds that the user typed. So we see we're almost there. Not there yet, but almost there. So let's check to see if the user seconds is greater than or equal to seconds in a minute. If we can get a minute from it, then that means we have at least 1 minute. It's similar to the code above. So in this case, minutes is equal to the user seconds. Remember I said the code was similar. See, you can say, for example, this line is similar to this line. It is similar to this. It's the same line. It's similar to that. But over here for minutes, we're actually saying user seconds divided by seconds in a minute, as opposed to over here where we're saying remaining seconds is divided by seconds in a minute. User seconds divided by seconds in a minute, remaining seconds divided by seconds in a minute, and they're both minutes. So that's why I'm saying it's slightly different. But yes, if the user seconds is greater than or equal to seconds in a minute, then we have a minute. So in that case, the user seconds divided by seconds in a minute will give us the minutes. And to get the remaining seconds, we need to calculate user seconds modulo seconds in a minute. And that's going to give us the remaining seconds. So if we can get a minute from it, if the user seconds is not greater than or equal to a minute, then whatever seconds is left is less than 60. It's less than a minute. It's less than 60 seconds, which is 60 seconds in a minute. It's less than 60. And if it's less than 60, then it's seconds. It's 59 seconds or 58 seconds. In that case, we can't get a minute from that. So if that's the case, then store the remaining seconds in seconds. Like that. Just like that. So now we are done with that part. We are done with the part where if the user seconds is greater than 60, then that's the code for it. We're done with that part. We're almost done. Now, if the program starts and the user enters, and in the user seconds is the user enters, let's say 1. 1 is not greater than or equal to seconds in a day. 1 is not greater than or equal to 86,400. So it's going to come here else. 1 is not greater than or equal to seconds in an hour. So in that case, it's going to skip this part and come here. If 1 is greater than or equal to seconds in a minute. Seconds in a minute is 60, and 1 over here wouldn't be greater than or equal to 60. So in that case, we need another else, okay, to check this, to see, or to take that seconds and store it in the seconds variable. If the user seconds, when the program starts, if the user seconds is not greater than or equal to seconds in a day, it's going to come here. If it's not greater than or equal to seconds in an hour, it's going to skip this and come here. If it's not greater than or equal to seconds in a minute, then we don't have a minute. We don't have a day, we don't have an hour, we don't have a minute. So if we don't have a day, we don't have an hour, we don't have a minute, then whatever is left, store it in the seconds variable. It's going to be seconds. Whatever we have is going to be less than a minute, because if we don't have a minute here, if it gets to this point and we don't have a minute, then whatever seconds we have is less than 60 seconds, which is seconds in a minute. It's less than 60 seconds. It's less than seconds in a minute. So we have seconds. If it's less than 60, then we have 59, we have 58. So go ahead and store that in seconds. So we're going to have a last else clause to this. And store the user seconds in seconds, because it's over when the program starts out, it's testing user seconds, not remaining seconds. It's testing user seconds, and it's going to come here and test user seconds. It's going to come down here, test user seconds. If user seconds is not a day, it's not an hour, it's not a minute. If it's not greater than or equal to seconds in a minute, if it's not greater than or equal to 60, then it's less than 60. It's 59 or 58, and if that's the case, go ahead and store either 59 or 58 or whatever number that is. The user seconds, go ahead and store it in seconds. We're done. So this, let me show you the whole. This is what I meant by the code being bulky, but this works. This covers everything. You're going to have the exact number of days, exact number of hours, exact number of minutes, and whatever is left for seconds. We wouldn't have 1.2 days, 1.3 days. When we are that's what is going to be stored in the variable. But in using the remainder to calculate the other ones, for example, after getting days, in using the remainder to calculate the hours and minutes and seconds, we did it. So the remainder does not go in. It does not go in, for example, days or hours or minutes. We are not displaying that. We are using the remainder to calculate the rest. We're using the remainder to calculate hours, minutes, and seconds after finding a day, for example. So that's why we converted these to integers, because we want to display the exact. We don't want to display the remainder, because we've used the remainder, the remaining seconds, to calculate the rest of the other stuff, or the rest of the other variables. Like after finding day, we use it to calculate hours, minutes, and seconds. Okay, I think I've talked too much, and I'm sorry, but I want it to be clear, and that's why I'm talking too much. Okay, so let's try some variables. First, I compiled it and we had some errors. So let's see some of the errors we have. Okay, so cannot find symbol remaining seconds in remaining seconds in seconds. It's just remaining seconds, not remaining seconds. There's no variable called remaining seconds in seconds. So I'm going to delete that and compile it again, and we don't have any errors. Okay, so let's run it and test for any number now. We have every number covered now. So let's say 1 second. Now 1 second says 0 days, 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 1 second. So that's right. Let's go ahead and say 59 seconds. See, 00059. Let's run this again. I'm going to enter 60 seconds. That gives us 1 minute, right? So see, it says 0 days, 0 hours, 1 minute, 0 seconds. Let's compile this and say 61 seconds should give us should give us 1 minute and 1 second. So let's enter. So it says 1 minute, 1 second. Let's try number of seconds in an hour, which is 3,600. So that should give us exactly 1 hour. So say 0 days, 1 hour, 0 minutes, 0 seconds. Let's try the number of seconds in an hour plus 1. So 3,600 plus 1 is 3,601. And it says 1 hour and 1 second. Let's try the number of seconds in a day, which is 86,400. So 86,400. And it says 1 day, 0 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds. Okay, so let's try number of seconds in a day plus 5. So 86,400 plus 5 is 86,405. And that should give us 1 day, 5 seconds. So it says 1 day, 0 hours, 0 minutes, 5 seconds. So the program is working. Let's try one last number. Let's try let's say 674,567. And that says 7 days, 19 hours, 22 minutes, and 47 seconds. So that's good. That the program is working. And that's good. So like I said, it's a bit long, but it solves the problem. It works. It solves the problem. And like I said, I have done this in another way, and it was a bit just a bit shorter. I mean, just a bit shorter, yeah, or a bit shorter. But it basically combined some of these things together. For example, like it put some of these lines. For example, we put some of these lines together, 2 lines together, and into one statement. The reason why I didn't do that was because it can get confusing. Although it works and it makes sense, it can get confusing. I wanted to do it this way, do everything line by line, and so that it follows. If you try to follow it well, I know the if statements can be confusing, but that's the way to learn. If you immerse yourself into it and you try to follow all these if branches, you would, if you try to expose yourself to it as much as possible, you would understand it. When I started out too, it was confusing, but now although it can get confusing, I follow it. When I go through it a bit, I don't get too confused like at first. Now I'm getting a bit more comfortable with this. Okay, so yeah, if you have questions, please comment down below, and I'll do my best as always to respond and explain any questions you have, so that you can understand. I'll try my best. If you have any concerns, anything at all, just comment in the comment section. And yeah, that's it. So thank you very much for watching. I know this video was long. I'll probably end up dividing it into 2. If not, I'll end up posting the whole thing. I'll think about it. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time with the next program. Have a good day.